Fake news isn't suddenly ruining America, but putting government in charge of deciding what news is fake will. Unfortunately, that's the route France is going. French President Emmanuel Macron recently proposed laws that would crack down on fake news and problematic websites, especially before elections. Macron said, "Thousands of propaganda accounts on social networks are spreading all over the world, in all languages, lies invented to tarnish political officials, personalities, public figures, journalists. We will develop our legal system to protect democracy from this fake news," he continued. Macron's proposal included having the government step in to essentially scrub fake news from websites and potentially shut some troublesome sites down entirely, among other regulations. Germany has already begun to go down this path, having passed laws to heavily fine social media sites for refusing to take down posts deemed hate speech. These are terrible ideas, and instead of protecting democracy as Macron claims, they undermine it by shifting the responsibility of discerning what is true and what is false to government authorities and agencies, rather than with the people where it belongs. Fortunately, this is what the Founding Fathers tried to prevent when they created our country's institutions. Given the often immense power of media, the founders debated what to do about it at the Constitutional Convention, and acknowledged the harm of false or misleading reports. It was, after all, the power of the printing press that allowed them to widely disseminate the ideas that would lead to the American Revolution. But this didn't mean that a free press was always an unqualified blessing. Massachusetts Elbridge Gerry lamented what he perceived were lies cooked up about him by unethical journalists. Gerry said, "The people do not lack virtue, but are the dupes of pretended patriots. In Massachusetts, it has been fully confirmed by experience that they are daily misled into the most baneful measures and opinions by the false reports circulated by designing men in which no one on the spot can refute." The founders knew full well the dangers of a dishonest press. It existed in their day, not just ours. But they ultimately decided that curing the disease through punitive measures could be far worse than the malady itself. They wrote constitutional protections for the press with open eyes, as their written remarks record. Yet the evils that come through the occasional problems of a free press are heavily outweighed by its benefits. With the full knowledge of the media's often unscrupulous power over public opinion, the founders chose to grant broad protections to a decentralized press, opting to place their faith in newspapers checking one another with more efficacy and less risk of bias than heavy-handed government crackdowns. The founders didn't write free speech protections into the Constitution because they thought all free speech would be good or even truthful. No, the goal was to allow us all to rigorously pursue the truth. They placed more confidence in the people to find this truth out of a cacophony of views than in the government to be neutral in enforcing speech laws. With a free press, lies may proliferate, but the truth has a real chance to rise to the top. Americans understood, wrote the famed French observer of American life, Alexis de Tocqueville, that creating a government body with the power to assess the truth in media would be far more dangerous than any system of press freedom. They instinctively knew that whoever should be able to create and maintain a tribunal of this kind would waste his time in prosecuting the liberty of the press, for he would be the absolute master of the whole community and would be as free to rid himself of the authors as of their writings. In other words, the creation of such an official court to oversee media truth would logically end in tyranny. Americans have been lucky to have a decentralized media through most of our history, and a culture that strongly embraces the idea of a truly free press. Those arrangements have had a long-lasting impact on American institutions, and have made the country resistant to authoritarian impulses. For all the uncertainty and chaos that an unfettered media seems to engender, Americans have been best at ultimately veering closer to the truth than any other people.